The story begins with the reality that might be felt by many people in this world, where dreams often crash against a thick wall named finances. Amidst the hustle and bustle of Seoul, a city that never sleeps, lives an ordinary man named Kang Sung-woong. He is a reflection of the average hard worker trying to survive amidst the harshness of economic demands. That day, Sung-woong, along with his girlfriend Min-suk, sat facing a real estate agent, their eyes sparkled looking at a brochure of a dream house, a place where they imagined building a future together after 9 years of being in love. However, that hope seemed to shrink when the numbers began to be mentioned. The house was sold for 400 million won. The condition was simple, yet suffocating. They had to have a down payment of 70 million won to be able to occupy it. Reality slapped them hard, because the savings they had collected with great difficulty were still short by another 30 million won. With staggering steps, Sung-woong and Min-suk returned to their narrow rental house. Sung-woong works as a civil servant with a mediocre salary, while Min-suk is an accounting manager at a small business who is very meticulous in managing finances. Min-suk is the controller in this relationship, especially regarding money. She knows every cent that goes out of Sung-woong's wallet, making the man have not the slightest gap to hide unnecessary expenses. That monotonous life began to change direction when Sung-woong received a call from his father, Kang Dong-gi. Sung-woong's relationship with his father could not be called warm. He grew up in a family that was always wrapped in poverty, and most of his childhood was spent seeing his father's financial failures. That resentment was still implanted in his mind, making the visit to his parents' house feel heavy. However, that day, something was different. His father looked serious, as if he wanted to bequeath something very important before he retired. In the simple living room, Dong-gi grasped his son's hand tightly. His gaze was deep, implying a long historical burden. Suddenly, without warning, a shocking action occurred. The father took a nail gun and shot it right into Sung-woong's forehead. A sharp pain hit, but a miracle happened a few seconds later. The wound closed by itself without leaving the slightest mark. Amidst Sung-woong's extraordinary confusion, his father finally revealed a family secret that had long been buried. It turned out their poverty was not just because of bad luck, but because of a curse, or perhaps a unique gift. The hand-holding earlier was a ritual of transferring the family hereditary superpower. Dong-gi explained that starting from that moment, Sung-woong possessed physical strength beyond ordinary human reason. However, in this world, nothing is free. The source of that power was not cosmic energy or genetic mutation, but cash. The father explained the rules clearly. The user must hold cash to activate the power. The greater the value of the money held, the greater the power generated. However, ironically, every time the power is used, the money will vanish, leaving change in the form of meager coins. Dong-gi advised Sung-woong to keep this a secret from anyone, including his mother, and to use the power to help others secretly. After passing on that heavy burden, the father felt relieved, as if his life's task was finished and he was ready to enjoy retirement with the pension allowance that had just been dispersed. Sung-woong went home with a head filled with questions. He tried to digest this new reality. As a man who is honest to his partner, he violated his father's message and told everything to Min-suk. Of course, Min-suk initially did not believe it. To prove it, Sung-woong held a 10,000 won bill and easily bent thick metal in front of his lover. The metal bent, but the 10,000 won money in his hand vanished just like that. Min-suk, with her sharp accountant brain, did not see this as a superhero gift. She saw this as a financial disaster. She immediately took a calculator and began to calculate. If 10,000 won was the minimum cost to activate basic power, then multiplying the power meant multiplying the cost. 10 times the power would consume 100,000 won in an instant. For a couple struggling to save for a house down payment, this was a nightmare. Min-suk firmly forbade Sung-woong from using that power. For her, being a poor hero was not a wise life choice. Sung-woong, who also dreamed of their ideal home, agreed to restrain himself. The following days became a test of patience for Sung-woong. He tried his hardest not to expend excess energy in his daily activities, worried that the money in his wallet would burn in vain. At the office, he who was formerly known for liking to help lift
lift heavy items now became passive and seemed lazy. His colleagues began to gossip about his sudden change in attitude to being indifferent. However, behind his cold demeanor, Sangwon was at war with his own instincts. He saw injustice on the streets, saw people in need of help, but the shadow of the house down payment and Min-suk's disappointed face held him back from acting. One day, after buying a used game console, an old promise of Min-suk's if they were to get married, Sangwon saw a man being beaten by a group of thugs in a quiet alley. His heart screamed, wanting to help. His hand clenched inside the pocket containing cash. However, the logic of poverty held him back. He turned his face away, allowing that crime to happen for the sake of preserving his savings balance. Guilt began to gnaw at his heart, questioning what the use of power was if it was only to be kept to oneself. The turning point occurred when his mother gave an unexpected surprise. The mother handed over money from a social gathering amounting to 30 million won to Sangwon. With this addition, their savings were finally enough to pay the house down payment, enough to start a new life, and enough to propose to Min-suk. Sangwon felt a heavy burden lifted from his shoulders. He immediately contacted Min-suk enthusiastically, wanting to deliver this good news right away. However, fate had another, more dramatic plan. While on the phone, Sangwon's eyes caught a horrific sight. A city bus lost control and skidded at the edge of a bridge, nearly falling into the rushing river below. The passengers inside screamed hysterically, trapped in a tin can swaying on the brink of death. Sangwon froze. In one hand, he held the phone connected to his future with Min-suk. In the other pocket, he held the envelope containing 30 million won, the key to their dream home. Time seemed to slow. Sangwon was faced with the biggest dilemma of his life. Saving the money meant owning a house, but letting dozens of lives drift away. Using the money meant saving lives, but destroying his and Min-suk's dreams. His conscience could not lie. With heavy breath, Sangwon chose the hard path. He put his hand into his pocket, gripped the thick envelope, and felt extraordinary energy flowing through his entire body. That 30 million won burned into pure power. With one leap, Sangwon hauled the bus. His muscles tensed, his veins bulged, and with a resounding shout, he pulled the giant bus back onto the highway. The passengers were safe, but the money was gone. 30 million won vanished into dust and small change. Strangely, after that heroic action that drained his wealth, the strange skin disease he had suffered from all this time, a legacy from his father, suddenly healed completely. It was as if the universe gave him a small gift for his great sacrifice. Meanwhile, on the other dark side of the city, the world of superpower owners turned out to be far more dangerous than Sangwon imagined. A young girl named Hua Jin was running in fear down a dark hallway. When cornered, she unleashed her firepower to fight off her pursuers. However, she was not facing ordinary thugs. She was facing a mysterious organization named Mundon Vanguard. An elegant yet old woman named Joanna emerged from the shadows. She was the field operations leader of that organization. With a cynical smile, she ordered her troops to create artificial rain, extinguishing Hua Jin's fire and neutralizing her instantly. Hua Jin was captured and taken to a secret laboratory that was sterile and terrifying. There, superpowers were not a gift, but a commodity. Through a painful procedure, Hua Jin's firepower was extracted from her body, making her a weak, ordinary human. The power extract was then put into a syringe, ready to be transferred or sold to the highest bidder. News about Sangwon's heroic action of pulling the bus spread quickly through a viral video. Although his face was not clearly visible, the action attracted the attention of two unique people, Byun Ho-in and Bang Un-mi. Ho-in was a lawyer who possessed the power to penetrate solid objects, but his power was only active if he was drunk on alcohol. Meanwhile, Un-mi was a girl with telekinesis powers that depended on calorie intake. The more she ate, the stronger she was. They were members of the Korean Hero Association, a small group trying to protect people like them. Ho-in recognized the pattern of Sangwon's power because he knew Donggi, Sangwon's father. They realized that Sangwon was now in great danger because Mundon Vanguard would definitely target him. Sangwon's own fate was not going well. After saving the bus, he was instead detained at the police station for questioning. He felt innocent, but he was afraid his secret would be exposed. Inside the detention cell, he chose to remain silent and even allowed himself to be bullied by other prisoners to hide his power. That was when he remembered remembered a name his father had once mentioned, a woman named Zhangja. Sangwon contacted Zhangja with the hope of getting legal assistance. However, he instead walked into a tiger's mouth. Zhangja turned out to be a high-class loan shark. When picking up Sangwon, Zhangja revealed another shocking fact. Sangwon's father owed 3 billion won to her, and now that debt was inherited by Sangwon. The cunning Zhangja took Sangwon to an empty warehouse. She wanted to test if Sangwon inherited his father's power, because that power could be utilized to pay off the debt. In that warehouse, Zhangja gave a wad of cash to Sangwon and then ordered her subordinates to beat him up. Cornered and in pain, Sangwon had no choice. He used the money Zhangja gave him to instantly heal his wounds. Then, with a single money-powered punch, he sent Zhangja's subordinate flying far away. However, the moment the money in his hand ran out, his body went limp. Sangwon's stamina depended entirely on those valuable sheets of paper. Seeing Sangwon's great potential, Zhangja offered a crazy deal. She would consider the 3 billion won debt paid in full, provided that Sangwon was willing to marry her daughter. Zhangja promised a wealthy life where Sangwon could use his powers to his heart's content without fear of poverty. She also promised to protect him from the hero hunting organization. However, Sangwon remembered Minsuk. His love and loyalty could not be bought. Realizing he still had a little money left in his pocket, Sangwon used his last remaining energy to escape from the warehouse, running back to the embrace of his complicated reality. Upon arriving home, Sangwon had to face the court of love. Minsuk was already waiting for him with a disappointed gaze. The viral video about the bus could not hide the fact that Sangwon must have used a large amount of money. Sangwon finally confessed that the 30 million won his mother gave him was gone, used to save the people on that bus. Minsuk's disappointment exploded, not because Sangwon helped people, but because Sangwon chose strangers over their future together. To Minsuk, it was a betrayal of their shared dream. That night, their 9-year relationship ended with a breakup. Minsuk left with her suitcase, leaving Sangwon alone in the silence. Sangwon's misery wasn't over. Shortly after Minsuk left, their rental house suddenly exploded violently and burned to the ground. Sangwon, who was still nearby, was thrown back but survived. Amidst the blazing fire, he saw a mysterious male figure with an evil grin. The man was Chang-do, one of the executors from Mundan Vanguard sent by John Ah to hunt Sangwon. Now, Sangwon had truly lost everything: money, home, and lover. With nowhere to go, Sangwon hid in his parents' empty house as his father and mother were vacationing in Spain, ironically, perhaps, using the pension money that was supposed to be Sangwon's inheritance. There, he contemplated his fate, trying to gather the pieces of his shattered life. However, Mundan Vanguard's terror did not stop there. The next day, Sangwon received news about a massive fire at a luxury hotel. His heart pounded because he remembered Minsuk once said she would attend a friend's wedding at that hotel. Without thinking twice about the danger lurking for himself, Sangwon rushed toward the hotel. He knew he needed ammunition. He raided the coin savings and whatever cash remained in his parents' house. Arriving at the burning hotel, chaos was everywhere. Sangwon charged through the fire, using his powers to clear debris and save trapped guests. Amidst the rescue action, he finally found Minsuk. The reunion was emotional, but it did not last long because Cheongdo appeared again. Cheongdo, who possessed artificial physical strength, was very tough. In a desperate situation, Sangwon did something reckless and slightly comical, yet heroic. He grabbed the wedding cash gifts, Engpao, scattered around the party venue. With the capital from those cash gifts, his power was restored. He beat Cheongdo with full power, incapacitating the villain. Just as Sangwon ran out of energy, Bian Ho-in and Eun-mi arrived to save them. They took Sangwon and Minsuk to a safe place. In Ho-in's office, Sangwon finally received a complete explanation about the new world he had entered. Ho-in explained about Mundan Vanguard, a wealthy organization led by Joanna's father, Wando. They hunted superhumans, tortured them in facilities disguised as farms, and harvested their powers for business purposes. Ho-in convinced Sangwon that he was now a prime target. Sangwon had only two choices: hide forever or fight. With the determination to protect Min Suk and prevent others from becoming victims, Sang-woong agreed to join Ho-in and Eun-mi. They formed a unique alliance. Ho-in began training Sang-woong in boxing so he could fight efficiently without wasting money. Eun-mi even gave him a special gift, special underwear modified to safely store large amounts of cash, as well as a mask to hide Sang-woong's identity. With his new identity as a masked hero, Sang-woong began to act to crush street crime while gathering information about Mundon Vanguard. His relationship with Min Suk slowly improved. After the incident at the hotel, Min Suk realized that Sang-woong's heart was too noble to ignore. They reconciled and even had a simple wedding. Sang-woong promised to put the title of their future house in Min Suk's name, and they agreed to start saving again from scratch. Meanwhile, at Mundon Vanguard's headquarters, Cheongdo's failure could not be tolerated. However, instead of being discarded, Cheongdo was upgraded. Joanna ordered her scientists to inject Hua Jin's fire power serum into Cheongdo's body. Now, Cheongdo became a dual-threat monster, possessing super physical strength and fire manipulation. The conflict escalated when Ho-in took Sang-woong to meet his grandfather, Do, an old fortune teller who also possessed the super ability to see the future. Ho-in wanted to know their chances against Vanguard. However, the meeting turned into a disaster. Vanguard troops, disguised as construction workers, raided Grandpa Do's hideout. A fierce battle broke out. Ho-in and Eun-mi fought tooth and nail against dozens of Vanguard subordinates. Sang-woong, realizing he needed huge capital to fight this many troops, took a drastic step. He contacted Zhangja, the loan shark, and borrowed cash in a large amount with whatever collateral Zhangja asked for. Unbeknownst to Sang-woong, Min Suk also turned out to be Zhangja's client for business matters, adding to the complexity of their web of fate. Amidst the chaos, Joanna arrived in person at the location. Grandpa Do, who had predicted Joanna's death in the near future, became the target of the woman's rage. Joanna shot Grandpa Do. Sang-woong, who had just arrived back with a bag full of borrowed money, used his power to stop the bullet. The money in his bag burned fast to create an invisible shield. With abundant borrowed money as capital, Sang-woong went on a rampage. He was no longer a hesitant hero. He beat the Vanguard troops one by one. However, Cheongdo, who now possessed firepower, appeared to block him. Their fight this time was much more brutal. Fire against money. Sang-woong was momentarily pressed by the heat of Cheongdo's fire. Cleverly, he drove Cheongdo into a pool of water to extinguish his fire. Although the fire was out, Cheongdo's physical strength was still troublesome. Sang-woong, whose money was starting to run low again, found one lucky coin. He used that coin as a final trigger, mustering all his remaining strength to subdue Cheongdo once again. That victory felt bitter and exhausting.
After that battle, a shocking offer came. Through a communication device brought by his troops, Won-do, the supreme leader of Vanguard and also Joanna's father, spoke directly to Sang-woong. He no longer wanted to kill Sang-woong. He wanted to buy his power. Won-do knew that in the hands of a person who possessed unlimited wealth like him, Sang-woong's power would become an unparalleled weapon of mass destruction. Won-do offered a fantastic price, 4 billion won. That number made Sang-woong speechless. 4 billion won could pay off his father's debt, pay his new debt to Zhangja, buy a dream house for Min Suk, and guarantee their lives until old age. Won-do promised to stop the hunt for Sang-woong if he agreed to sell his power. A moral dilemma hit Sang-woong again. He felt tired. This power felt like a curse that kept draining his wallet and endangering the people he loved. He began to think rationally. If he sold this power, he would lose the ability to help people, but he would save his family from eternal poverty. He discussed it with his father, Dong-gi, who could only remind him that dealing with devils like Vanguard always risked a trap. Sang-woong also secretly investigated Ho-in's office with Eun-mi. They found the fact that Ho-in actually stored data about the selling value of superpowers. It turned out that Sang-woong's power was indeed worth very
very high. However, there was a personal note from Ho-In insisting that Sang-Wong's power must not fall into Vanguard's hands, no matter what happened. This made Eun-mi angry at Ho-In because she felt the lawyer was hiding many things. Financial pressure and the desire to live normally finally solidified Sang-Wong's resolve. He contacted Won-do and agreed to sell his power. A deal was made. Sang-Wong kept this a secret from Min-suk. He wanted to give a final surprise: total financial freedom. Before the transaction day, Sang-Wong pampered Min-suk, flew her to the roof of a building, gave her a ring, and promised that all their suffering would end soon. That was Sang-Wong's farewell moment to his hero identity. The transaction day arrived sooner than planned. The police began to sniff out Sang-Wong's whereabouts at his office, forcing him to speed up the meeting with Won-do. Sang-Wong was directed to the Vanguard farm facility, the place where the extraction would be performed. However, at the facility gate, Ho-In was already waiting. Ho-In tried to block Sang-Wong. He knew if Won-do got that power, the world would be in great danger. Their debate turned into a physical fight. Eun-mi, who came later, also interfered, attacking Ho-In because she felt betrayed, creating a confusing triangular fight. Sang-Wong used that chaos to sneak into the facility. Inside the cold laboratory, Joanna was already waiting with a large bag containing stacks of cash amounting to 4 billion won. Sang-Wong's eyes were fixed at that money. That was his ticket to freedom. He prepared to undergo the extraction procedure. The machines began to hum, ready to suck the power from his body. However, right before the extraction needle pierced his skin, the room's wall shattered. Ho-In, who somehow managed to escape the fight outside, barged in with his penetrating power. Realizing that words would not stop Sang-Wong, Ho-In took drastic action. He aimed a weapon and fired a shot at Sang-Wong, not to kill, but to thwart the power transfer process.